So, and then that we progressed on, and it was a smile. So I appreciated that every day that she would say hello, and then she would smile at me, and sometimes she would even look at me like this, but it was okay. And it was really nice. That had an impact on me, so that's why I just wanted to let you know that Natalie made it in. She's a little bit late. I read your stuff. Will we read it again? Or what's that? Okay, we'll read your stuff again. So Natalie is a 12th grade student at Glendale. Birthday is 3/6/2015. Her parents are Billy Joe Bales and Anthony Reynolds. Her favorite subject is science. Favorite teacher is Mrs. Giddings. The activities that she's involved in are marching band and jazz band. Her outside interests are reading and dance. Her favorite movie is Tangled. Favorite book is The Secret Garden. Favorite school lunch is General Tso's chicken. Proudest achievement is making the honor roll over 2 years. And what she enjoys about school is being part of clubs. And her future goals are to go to college and become a radio broadcaster and then own an open retreat. You never run that. It's okay. Sam, you got it? Okay. All right.
Students of distinction. Kylie, where are you going? Ready?
Can I get one real quick before you walk away?
You sure can.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Holly. Mr. Stacy mentioned earlier about how nice it is to be recognized even as an administrator walking down the hall. Hello, a little wave. My first couple weeks on the job here, I saw Britton, and what a nice young man he was. I didn't care about anything else but about him. Very polite, although he's a little intimidating when he walks at you a little bit. He's a bigger kid. I'm not that muscular in size. Very nice young man off the get-go. And then to watch him play football, how intimidating he was on the field. And then to hear how he was overpassed a little bit locally, but then to hear that he's honored as the first team All-State from Little Glendale is amazing. So Brett, congratulations being first team, not only for playing football, but for being who you are as a person. And that's not only a reflection on you, but on your parents as well. So great job. And to say that, I'm going to top it off by saying that he's a fantastic wrestler. And although he had a very close match this past weekend, he did qualify for qualify for regionals, which are in 2 weeks. So hopefully he can get some revenge there on the back. So congratulations, Brett.
Thank you.
It don't matter. It don't. Mr. Gilday, get in there. I wanna do it next. There you go. Okay, just one more. There you go.
Good? All right.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right along, we have our student representatives to the board, Grace Kozak and Caitlin Redlaw. Go for it.
Our school-wide positive behavior group recently started running a school store. It is a behavior reward system. Teachers are to give out a certain amount of tickets each week. Then on designated days, students can use their Viking dollars to buy a variety of prizes. This has been very popular with the students, and with this, it helps to encourage them to have good behavior and act respectfully, responsibly, safe, and effective. As well, recently a group of students from our band traveled to Huntington High School to participate in the street fair. They stayed the night at a hotel and practiced music all day to perform a concert. The students also auditioned for their chairs or placement at the district band. This also determined if they moved to regionals or not. Peyton Dove and Grace Kozak will be moving on to regionals to represent our school and audition for all states. And then lastly, this Sunday, Student Council will be hosting a tea party to help raise money for the American Heart Association. Miss Gobert and Miss Lloyd have been working hard, as well as the King of Heart Girls, to set this up. They will be having tea, snacks, bingo, and other raffles and activities.
Thank you much. Okay, now what we've all been waiting for. Praise the Lord by Brenda Calicow. How long is she? I always say it wrong.
I
Compton Associates are
appreciate
sticking
that.
up for you.
I appreciate that. This is what you've always
We've
waited
all
for.
been waiting. Thank you, Ms. Whitson.
I wasn't sure, I thought maybe there was somebody else before me.
No.
All right, well, good evening. I don't think I've been here since COVID, like in person. The last couple of years I did virtual. So I did do the slides this year. So use PowerPoint in front of you, but feel free, if you wish, to read through the entire.
We can't hear with the air. Like, can we turn this air off?
You wanna hear me?
Yeah.
I haven't said anything except anything.
Thank you.
exciting.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
It's okay, I didn't say anything. And I am a soft talker too, so that doesn't help. All right. Okay, so you have the slides in front of you, but feel free, everyone, to read through that multi-page audit packet because it
Thank
takes
you.
us a long time to get that put together. All right, so the first page of the slides is the audit results overview. Ooh, that's much better. Okay. So, you'll see there we have an unmodified or clean opinion on the financial statements themselves. We have an unmodified or clean report on internal controls and compliance over those financial statements. There were no material audit adjustments. There was a decrease in fund balance of $200,000. Total federal expenditures were $1.2 million for fiscal year 22 versus 21, not much different, $1.1 million. Under the federal programs, we also had a clean opinion there, so I would say we had a clean sweep, so clean opinion all around. On compliance and controls over the federal program that we tested, federal programs. So this year for fiscal year 22, we tested the special education cluster and the cafeteria subsidies. That was $692,000, which was 54% of the total. For fiscal year 21 and comparison, we tested special education cluster, the ESSER money, and the coronavirus relief fund, that was almost 600,000. So yeah, so no findings, clean opinions all around, so everything is good as far as the audit goes.
Can I back you up to
Sure.
the general fund, we have a decrease of over 200,000?
Yes.
Does that be a red flag for us?
No.
No?
That's
Okay.
what I'm talking about now. On the next slide, you were reading ahead.
Oh, okay.
So yes, the general fund did have a decrease, of 200,000, mostly because of the science project that was going on. So, we're using fund balance to do that, so it's expect a decrease. So there you go, answered your question. It's not an issue because you had an actual capital project going on that was being funded by the general fund, so you saw that decrease. The debt service fund, which is the fund that is used to accumulate the monies for your QSCB bond issue. So the money, you have to transfer money into there every year. At the end of the term, when the QSCB bond comes due, that fund will be enough to pay off those bonds. So that will continue to increase until we get to 2030 or something. And then those bonds can be paid off. So right now, you see the very last line of that slide, the debt service fund is at 1.2 million, again, to eventually pay off that debt, so for that service for the QSCB bond. The general fund is sitting at 3.4 million in fund balance. There's restricted money aside from that in the scholarship. It's not part of the general fund that was in there a year or so ago. The standards required that, because the school controls that money, has to be part of the general fund, the money is reserved for general purposes. So it's restricted 350,000. And then you have committed fund balance of 2 million for technology, capital, projects, retirement. Any questions on that? The next slide is the slide I compared the general fund revenues to the budget as well as prior years. And you can see there's not a lot of change. Federal, you're always gonna see fluctuations in federal depending on what's happening. Years ago, we had the ERA funding, now we've got the COVID funding. So more was budgeted for federal than was used, but, at the time that everyone's budgeting, nobody knows what to budget for federal, because if you're budgeting so early, it's hard to know exactly what's gonna happen. But comparing, the prior year to the current year, there's not a lot of variance there. I will say that in your audit package, at the beginning, after our audit opinion letter, there's a management's discussion and analysis, on pages 6 to 16, and that kind of gives you like an overview, like, what transpired during the year, like where are the variances in the different functions, where were the variances in instruction, or transportation, or, so for the various categories, there's discussion in there about what happened during the year. So that's a nice place to look to, get some additional information if you don't want to read through the entire report. Okay, the next slide, same thing comparing the expenditures. And again, you can go to that management's discussion section of the audit and see what's happening in there. As I mentioned, you did have a capital expenditure for the science renovation, science lab renovations. And if you look across there, the last time you had the capital out of the general fund was back in 2019, when we paid the project. So, that, throws a little bit of variance there if we're looking at comparisons to the prior years. Okay. But otherwise, if you look across the numbers, there's really not much variance there between the budget and the prior years. Okay, any questions? All right, then moving on to the food service fund or the cafeteria. Good news there, we had an increase in revenues, everyone did with the COVID money, everybody had an increase in their subsidy. So with the subsidy, and you reduce that by the expenses, you actually would have had a profit without any transfer from the general fund for fiscal year 22, which is at the top of there. So, yeah, so you actually had the transfer from the general fund, so it had a profit of 240,000, but again, it would have been about 7,000 even without that transfer. And that was other districts were also seeing that. Because you had just had that COVID funding, you know, coming in for cafeteria and everything, seeing that close to a profit. Maybe some still had small losses, but we definitely saw that profit, in some of our other districts. Compare, so I wanted to look back to see where are we with food with the number of meals being served. So, you know, are we back to pre-COVID levels yet? So fiscal year 22, there were 109 meals served. That includes breakfast and lunch. And in 21, it was 77,000. In 19, which would have been pre-COVID, it was 119. So you're still down about 10,000 meals from pre-COVID time. Okay. Any questions on cafeteria? Okay. So the next slide, there are certain things that we have to communicate to the board of directors since you're in charge of governance. The planning, scope, and timing of our audit, which we do via the engagement letter each year. There were no difficulties encountered during the audit. There were, we had to disclose to any corrected or incorrected misstatements. So did we make any journal entries? Yeah, we always do, but none rose to the level of being material. So nothing that we had to make a finding. There were no disagreements with management. We do obtain a multi-page management representation letter that the superintendent, business manager both sign, just acknowledging that they provided us everything, they told us everything, we've been made aware of everything. There was no consultation with other accountants and any other audit findings or issues. We did issue a separate letter to management. We want so the general fund owes the cafeteria some money, just, the cafeteria gets their share of the users' subsidy and the social security subsidy that they get from the state. But it's a measure that we do, but they actually need to transfer the money over, so it's a cash thing. It's not a revenue thing at this point, it's just a transfer of cash. So we recommended that instead of budgeting a transfer to give them cash, just give them the cash that they're owed for these prior years of subsidy that they're due. So, I think we've already done that. So that's already been taken care of. The other issue we had, testing the activity funds, there was a change in staff there, so we had some control issues and not finding all the invoices and documentation receipts. It seemed to be a misunderstanding of who's supposed to maintain those things. Does the club maintain them? Does the secretary maintain those? And so the office should maintain everything. We want that office to be in control of everything that happens. And that activity fund. As small as it is, you know, if something would happen in the activity fund, you know, in the papers, like, nobody wants to see anything happen to student funds. So not that anything did happen, but we just want the controls to be, kind of enhanced, you know, kind of do things, make sure that you've got everything there, so that we don't have to search. So we did communicate that with the secretary and all of that, Chuck's aware. So that's being taken care of. So, and we did provide them some documents to use as guidance in doing that situation. Okay. Any questions on that? Okay, so the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, which is GASB, is the body that determines what accounting standards you follow because you're a government. In fiscal year 22, there was a new standard on leases. So we had to implement that, but it didn't affect you in 22 because you're at the end of your leases. So there's a new lease that started in July of 22, which would be this fiscal year. So we'll actually implement that standard for this current year. But just make you aware that it's out there. They keep adding more and more things to the things that we have to do. They just want to say pencils down, but they don't. So that'll affect you for 23, even though it was technically came into play in 22. In 23, the brand new one is this one called subscription-based information technology arrangements. Do you know what those are? Speed us. So these are like your cloud-based software. So you're not purchasing, you're leasing something that doesn't physically exist. So something that's in the cloud. So now they want us to record these things as if you're leasing them and not just very strange and hard to understand concept, but you're leasing a right to use asset, is basically what it is. So that will be for 23, we'll have to work with the business manager and figure out what all you do have out there.
Does that include like, curriculum?
It
Materials
could,
too.
Yeah, yeah, which is very common now after.
Right.
Now, your accounting software, that's not cloud-based, that's an actual software that's purchased, so we have some schools that do have cloud-based accounting software. But you're right, the educational tools and stuff, software that's used, the textbooks, curriculum, yeah. Yeah, so we have to look at all of them. And then back in 03, 04, we had started putting, if you remember all of this, you had to start recording your assets, all your liabilities on a separate set of financial statements that made you look like a business. So it doesn't affect your fund balance, it's a separate set of financial statements. And at that point, you had to establish a threshold, okay, what threshold are you use for assets that we're gonna capitalize and depreciate? And at that time, it was $2,000. So anything that was purchased, something that was long term, that included as an asset depreciated. So I'm asking everybody to, at some point before June 30th, have a board do policy to increase that threshold to about $5,000. With inflation, it's been since 03, 04, since that's been in place, and all of our schools were at like 1,000, 1,500, 2,000. We gotta get that number up to 5. Because there's things that are being depreciated that they're just so small, it's not feasible to do that anymore. So we're recommending like $5,000, which is the federal threshold, for capital, so it seems to make sense for a $5,000 limit. And if there are any questions, I would thank the district office, they do a great job, and staff. It's a pleasure to come here every year, they make it very comfortable for us, they provide us everything that we need, we always do very well. Any questions?
I just asked, the lease liability, it has to be recorded, is there a minimum lease, or is it any lease?
What we have to do is, we have to do a calculation to see what the present value of it is, and then we use our materiality threshold to see, is it worth doing it or not, which is what happened with fiscal year 22, because it was at the end of the term, June 30 was literally the end of the term. When we did the calculation, it was below the threshold that would require us to do anything, so we passed on. But when the new copy of leases come into play, July 1st, now we're removed. And this, again, mostly affects these financial statements that make you look like a business, where we have to record the asset and the liability. But it also does do some reclassifications on the fund financial statements. So instead of it just being, the high school copier gets coded to the high school copier account, now it's going down to a debt account, the debt interest and principal. So, they're really, just won't let anything rest.
So does it make sense for the district to start, identifying any potential lease now, so that in fall when you come back?
Yeah, what we do is, and we kind of scrub through the ledger anyway to see, okay, what's recurring, what do you see as recurring things, and on these, the curriculum and things we already know about, a lot of them refer to COVID money, which we've been, looking at anyway. So, some of it is already, we're already aware of, and we'll have to backtrack to pull those in for fiscal year 23, because you qualify for the new standard. All right, anything else?
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anything more exciting after this?
That was great. You never disappoint.
Oh, good.
All right.
I stay for the last one.
Next up, public comment period. Public? Comment this time? None being heard, we will move into committee business. First up is athletic committee of the school board.
Okay. I will be looking for consideration to accept the resignation of Greg Mazeko as head junior high girls basketball coach and to advertise the position. Number two, consideration to accept the resignation of Brian Simmers as assistant junior high softball coach and to retroactively approve the advertising of the position. Number 3, consideration to approve Hannah Knoll as the 2022-23 Assistant Junior High Softball Coach, pending receipt of all paperwork. Number 4, consideration to approve Scott Mazura as the 2022-23 Head Varsity Baseball Coach. Number 5, consideration to approve Steve Stebeck as the 2023-24 Assistant Varsity Football Coach. Number 6, consideration to approve Brenda Wilson as the 2023-24 Assistant Junior High Volleyball Coach. Number 7, consideration to advertise any coaching vacancies created by the transfer of current coaches to other recently advertised coaching vacancies. And number 8, consideration to approve the purchase of a program ad in the amount of $400 to honor Blair Packer's induction to the National Wrestling Hall of Fame, PA State Chapter. That is all on the agenda.
Questions?
Gonna throw out, oh, go ahead, Steve.
I would just like to have number 5 held off until we have an executive meeting.
Pardon me?
Number 5, I'd like to have it held up until we have an executive meeting.
Or we're gonna have an executive session in between
Okay.
the two. So, yeah, we can do whatever with it after that, is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I received an email, when was that, about two or 3 weeks ago, from a gentleman in charge of, well, not in charge, but works with the National Wrestling Hall of Fame PA chapter. And there is an induction ceremony, he's being inducted in the Hall of Fame. I know he had over 190 wins here at Glendale, and some wins over at Tyrone. They're asking us to put an ad together. So in preparation for this, I've also spoken with Mr. Morrison, as well as some current wrestlers, who are gonna speak with family members that were coached by Mr. Packard to get quotes put on the ad. I looked at a handful of ads that were already done, and they're basic ads, congratulations, so-and-so, and a picture of them. But I like to make ours custom towards him. So I know Patty's already supplied me with a quote that he used to use with your nephew. And I'd like to get some different quotes on there, just making the impression. It will go in the advertising book that we'll be giving out after that.
Winter sports season is basically done except for wrestling. What will the schedule of the end of season coaches meeting next month prior to the board meeting on March 21st? There are 7 individuals.
Might be able to kick that off.
5. Pretty sure we're done.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're not long, sometimes they are. 5 o'clock.
When is it, March 21st?
Yes. That's our next board meeting, correct?
You say 21st?
Anybody else have anything? Just want to bring up, Gary, I don't know if you're aware, I was made aware of some of the officials that we've had for basketball season this year, not sent their contracts back in. Reason being, they're basically looking for more money. I guess there's some surrounding schools we're paying 65 a game. Curtis Miller and that crew said that Kendra Heights and Modell are paying 75 a game. The new one pretty much now is 75 to 90, depending on the size of the school. Maybe check into that. I know they're not going to send those contracts back in, so.
It'll be on next month. And Mr. Matchoff already gave me a recommendation for increases compared to other schools.
Okay.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything in athletics? Okay. Moving into the personnel committee. Jeff, would you mind doing personnel since there's nothing on transportation?
Consider number 1, consideration to approve the following conference requests. A, Sean Gilday to attend the PA Association of Rural and Small School Conference in State College, Pennsylvania on 04/26/23 through 04/28/23 at district cost of $820, $275 for registration, $175 for mileage, $300 for lodging, and $100 for meals. Number 2, consideration to approve any interested board member to attend the PA Association of Rural and and Small School Conference in State College, Pennsylvania on 4/26/23 through 4/27/23 at an approximate cost of $280 per member. Number 3, consideration to approve a memorandum of agreement with professional staffing regarding the retirement program. Number 4, consideration to accept the retirement request from Brian Stacy as a professional staff member effective 08/15/23. 5, consideration to approve the advertisement for a high school principal with the anticipated start date of 7/1/23. Number 6, consideration to retroactively approve an agreement for security services with Guardian Protection Group LLC effective 1/23/23 through 2/17/23. Number 7, consideration to approve a request from Warren Clarkson for 2 days of absence without pay on 3/10/23 and 3/13/23. Number 8, consideration to approve a transfer request from Michelle, I'm sorry if I butchered this, Wisnowski, is that correct? To move from part-time food service assistant to fill our part-time food service vacancy and to post our part-time food service assistant position. Number 9, consideration to grant permanent employment to Nicole Picard as a support staff employee as she has recently completed her probationary period effective 2/14/23. Number 10, consideration to approve Dawn Kovach as a district volunteer. And number 11, consideration to approve an updated health and safety plan 2/21/23.
Any questions or comments, any person?
Yes, number 5, do we open it up to in-house, for administration like we do with the teachers? Is that open up to them first? In-house?
Have we done that in the past?
I don't know.
I don't think we've ever owned one, but I think we did just.
It's open for everybody. Anybody can apply for it, in-house, out-house.
In-house.
I don't know what that's, like, the teachers, they usually open it up in-house first, and if not, they would go. I don't know whether we make that policy for administrators or not.
Contract, where do you, I don't remember the last time.
I don't think there's anything in the Act 93, there wouldn't be anything on an administrator advertisement in the collective bargaining agreement for the teacher. So the only other possible, clarification would be looking in board policy to see if it requires internal posting first, which I don't believe it does. But I can double check.
We'll double check, but I don't think it does, because the last time we just, it was just advertised.
Because it's going to apply this time, and I wanted to make sure we do this policy.
I'd like to remind the board, Patty and I put the liberty of reserving rooms at State College for any board member that would like to go. Before we cancel those rooms and open back up, please let me know for that weekend in April. Any board member would like to go. There's gonna be a lot of discussion with, regarding the lawsuit that's out that we tentatively won. I'm not sure how it's gonna impact us. When I say we, I mean school districts, smaller school districts, and less funding. So a lot of discussion and sessions on that lawsuit, as well as some other information we put for board members. So anybody would like to go, please let me know, or let Patty know, ASAP. I would say, Patty, by the end of the month, so we can adjust that.
I have a question with number 6 also. Is that company, is that the Billy Lloyd company?
No, this is the current company that we hired when we had the
You needed a supplemental service provider. for a
supplemental
couple
right now.
period.
This is just for this past month.
Oh,
Now, that's the next question I have during my time to talk further is, we want to continue with that until Mr. Lloyd finds someone to go through his company, or do we want to cancel our agreement with Guardian Protection Group at this point?
he hasn't found anyone?
Not yet. He has spoken with two female, I'm pretty sure two, maybe definitely one, female retired troopers, to see if they're interested. The one is not interested yet, but maybe next year. She just retired, so I think she's gonna enjoy her retirement for a period of time. But from what Bill Lloyd said, that he's still actively researching that, but we do not have anybody else through this company at this point.
How open are today to short-term extensions of the contract?
They can do whatever extension you want. From this point on, I can go a week. They would obviously like to go month to month, just so they have someone current in the position, but, they would.
What was our, timeline that we felt would be to, even if he had somebody right now, it was gonna be weeks and weeks until they could even be on board.
I would say to the end of like March.
We're talking, yeah, so I mean, I think we would have extended it easily.
It all depends on the certification that the officer has as well. And so Bill had to go through certain courses compared to a trooper or a current police officer or a retired police officer. They don't have to go through the trainings that Bill had to go through.
Do we want to, extend it at least for a month and then maybe talk to them that this would be, a month-to-month thing at least for the near future? Everyone okay with that? I mean, just let them know, say, it may be 3 months or maybe 4 months or maybe 1 month. We don't know for sure.
That's what I told them when we first.
I would at least give them a month. I mean, I think, we can just, that should just be an ongoing board agenda item until we don't need the services anymore. Okay with that plan of attack? So we have it. For tonight's, it'll be,
This past month.
yeah, we want to extend it out 1 more month.
So the next, we'll do 2 items next month, Patty. We'll do one for this past month from February 18th through March 21st. And they'll also put on another one, so we don't have to retroactive it, from March 22nd to April. In the event we have to continue with Friday.
Right.
But if Bill finds someone in the meantime, we can always remove that before it goes up.
Anybody else have anything?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, George.
Number 11, the health and safety plan. In the health and safety plan, we have, we discussed this at the last one about the superintendent having the authority to adjust the plan. Don't really like that, and I don't really like the whole mandated, everything, we gotta do everything is by the state, whatever's mandated. And I actually emailed, Attorney Will about this, about maybe changing some of the wording. So,
Yeah, I removed the one portion.
I think
It's
it's
highlighted
still,
in red,
I think
I
it's still
think,
there.
on page 4, it says adjust the plan.
Like I said, call executive session.
I think it's the vote actually, but anyway.
The adjust the plan, the red was being removed. Call an executive meeting
Right.
is being added.
Right.
So the red portion on,
yeah, it's not red on mine.
oh, I'm sorry.
No, it was just regular, like I actually highlighted everything.
It should be red.
Yeah, I don't know if it was red on
All right,
mine,
so
either, 'cause I
that's
thought,
the-
I thought it
Red,
was
yeah,
still
it's
there.
red
It
on,
was a typo.
it's red on mine.
Alright,
That's coming out, calling an executive meeting is being,
alright.
Yeah, so you might as well.
it's red. Adjust the plan.
It's not stricken through, so,
Oh.
so like to
Right.
me, when I looked at it, I thought. you were
Yeah, I didn't get that. Okay. I didn't get it either, so I'm with you.
In response to, George's comment, I did go through the plan and came up with a list of possible changes, it's not exhaustive, but taking into consideration, some feedback that he provided previously and then the board discussion, so, I would like to pass that out to the board members tonight. My recommendation is if you are interested in exploring some of the suggestions, or have your own suggestions, that the plan be tabled for this evening and it be brought back for March. But the suggestions I have, for example, are under 3A, where it says universal and correct wearing of masks, where it says the district will follow all masking recommendations, removing that and sort of paring it down in terms of where the administration is going to get guidance from, and then bring it back to the board. And again, my suggestions, I put in them that some of them may come across as more restrictive, some of them are definitely less restrictive than what's in this plan, but it's just food for thought, if the board wants to discuss it further. So I can pass those out tonight.
What I can do on, sorry to interrupt, but what I can do on the PD website is upload a document that says that the current plan has been tabled for a month. The new plan will be uploaded within 30 days. because we have to upload a new plan every 6 months, so it's up, but from what I'm told, there's not the health and safety plan police aren't gonna come out looking for the plan, so as long as we have something up there. we're good.
Everybody okay with tabling that for this evening? Okay. Anybody else have anything? Anything else in personnel? Okay, building and grounds.
Yes, with the consideration to approve the following use of the facility request: A, is the Glendale Elementary Boys Basketball Sean Wagner High School session stands B3 of 3/23 for tournament games with all gym use scheduled with the athletic director. B, Glendale Boys Basketball Visitors Mary Ellen Kozlowski Elementary Gym on 3/5/23 and 3/19/23 for end of the season parties. C, Glendale Hayden Snyder Auditorium on 3/8/23 for a safe driving presentation. D, Glendale Post Prom Committee Melissa Lukart High School Facility on 4/28/23, 4/29/23 for post prom activities. E, girls and boys basketball red and blue guard both gyms on 6/5/23 and 6/8/23 for games.
Okay, anybody have any questions, comments in building grounds?
There was a comment brought up to me last night in the basketball game regarding post-prom committee, even after this, I think. Requesting that would the board consider use for, I don't know what they call it, prom sit-in, anytime from 11 o'clock to 5 a.m. So have all the kids that want to come here in a safe place, watch a movie, do activities overnight. It wouldn't be run by the school, it would be run by an outside
Basically a post prom.
post-prom.
Yeah, we all did that when we were in high school.
Yeah, but it hasn't been done for a while, so I would like to bring that back.
We did it in,
It wasn't that long ago, was it?
2018, right?
That sounds about right. I know we've done it since I've been on the board. Or approved it.
We've done it since I've been principal.
That's weird, it is.
I mean, as long as there's a safety plan.
That isn't the same as Melissa Lukart, am I correct?
It is.
It is the same. Oh, Melissa didn't talk to me then. That's the confusion. Someone else talked to me.
She built it.
Okay.
So is that for overnight too?
Yeah, 11.
Okay, there you go.
We've done it before. They use the classroom sometimes, we use the gym.
Okay.
State rooms.
Anything else for building grounds? None being heard, we'll move into discipline and curriculum.
So number one, consideration to approve the following field trip requests. A, Larry Couture, Kim Kozak to take one student to Clearfield High School on 2/23/23 through 2/25/23 for regional course at district cost of $943, $50 for the van, $103 for admissions, $150 for meals, $240 for sub, $400 for hotel. B, Julie Knoll to take 15 students to Tyrone Area High School on 2/25/23 for a competition at district cost of $117 for the bus. Additional chaperones, Daryl Knoll, Sherry Beers. C, Jeremiah Dovo to take 2 students to Altoona Area High School on 3/22/23 through 3/24/23 for PMEA regional band at district cost of $933, $70 for the van, $258 for admissions, $100 for meals, $240 for sub, $265 for hotel. D, Jody Chilcote, Karen Forney, Tisha Rorabaugh to take 36 students to the Railroaders Museum and Horseshoe Curve National Landmark on 4/21/23 at no district cost. Additional chaperones, Olivia Holman, Lisa Ricketts, and 6 approved district chaperones. E, Jeremiah Dovo to take 6 students to West Branch High School on 4/28/23 for PMEA 6th grade band fest at district cost of $395, $50 for the van, $150 for admission, $75 for meals, $120 for the sub. F, Jody Chilcote, Karen Ford, and Tisha Lorabata take 36 students to Hollidaysburg, PA on May 16th, 2023 for a train ride at no district cost. Additional chaperone will be Lisa Ricketts. Can I go? Sorry. Number 2, consideration to approve a 1-year care coordination agreement with St. Clair Child Services Incorporated for coordination of care activities and collaborative treatment planning effective 2/21/23. 3, consideration to approve a letter of agreement with the Meta Psychiatric Center for educational services for the 23-24 and 24-25 school years at a daily rate of $70. Number 4, consideration to approve the purchase of 6 years of licenses and materials for into reading Amira and Waggle, grades K through 12 from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt totaling $147,916 with funds through ESSER 3. Number 5, there's a change to number 5, so number 5 is consideration to approve the purchase of 6 years of licenses and materials for My View Literacy, grades 3 through 5, and My Perspectives, grade 6 from S8 from Sava, totaling $102,519.56. That is district paid. Number 6, consideration to approve the renewal of license and subscription fees for special programs for Power School totaling $4,305 effective 4/25/23 through 4/24/24. Number 7, consideration to approve the 23-24 school calendar, draft 01/27/23. Number 8, consideration to approve revisions to board policy number 005, organization, pending solicitor review and approval. And number 9, consideration to approve an agreement in lieu of expulsion for student number 202-30076. And that is all.
Hey, were you saying that only 6th grade would be paid by the district? Yes.
Number 5,
Yeah, how much of that will be paid by?
it's not used, ESPER cannot be used for that, so it would be district paid for all of it.
Grades 3 through 6.
Well, then, but they can pay for K through 2?
Just with, they can pay for it, but money-wise. There's only so much money in ESSERs, so that money's earmarked for other things. So we took the greatest amount, put it in ESSERs, 150,000. The other money, now if I'm meeting with Christy tomorrow and then with the admin team with you next week. If we have other money left over and within ESSERs, if we can budget it, then we'll come back and change that sum to say maybe $50,000 paid from district, another 50 through ESSERs. So it all depends on how much money is left in ESSERs funds. It's a fluctuating account because, for example, the gym equipment that was purchased for ESSER 2, it was, I think we budgeted $80,000 for that gym equipment, and it came out of $60,000. So now we have extra money. So if money's available in ESSER 3, we're going to use it to buy the reading material. If it's not, we have to use district funds.
Okay, I'm just gonna put out a suggestion. It's gonna be fingernails across the blackboard. But if we're getting these new reading series, don't we get free training and, and advisory through them? So like we're paying $160,000 paid out of ESSERs for the padding and padding. Why can't we take that money then, since should be getting free advisory and training through these companies, and take that money and help pay for this? I think we need to look into what we're spending our money for.
So you're saying, look at the Patty contract.
Yeah, and see if we can't take that money and help pay for this. And are we getting free training and advisory through these
The
companies?
training will be
I
on the
would think-
books themselves. The patties teach us how to teach reading, which is similar but not always the exact same thing. So when the textbook company comes in, they'll tell us, okay, here's your teacher edition, here's your student editions, here's your online stuff. That doesn't necessarily help us with the process of teaching.
But I think
So they're-
that company would do enough, and the teachers are smart enough, they could pick up this training from the company. Because we specifically on these, what they're gonna be working with.
Do the teachers specifically pick these ones?
question on number 9. I must have missed it. Was there an exclamation, someplace written up about that scholarship thing? Or not
Is
added?
it in the packet, the agreement? We could talk about that tonight.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
That's fine, I just wondered, because I've gone through and I can't see.
Yeah.
Because I wondered about that.
Anything else in discipline curriculum?
For number 8, for the board policy 005, is that the only thing they did was just add those two?
So, number 8, policy 005, we're looking to add a policy committee meeting, and then adding, not committee meeting, policy committee, and the transportation committee, and then I would request that a policy and transportation chair be asked from the board. And then I'm also requesting that after we establish that I'll work with that policy chair to establish a date to have a policy committee meeting once a month to review policies moving forward. I know other districts have, depending on what the policy committee decides to do, have various number of readings. Some school districts just have proposed all the policy and the policies voted on. Other districts have 1 reading, some districts have 2 readings of that policy before it's voted. So that will be decided upon, the policy committee would decide upon how to pursue that moving forward. My recommendation would be, since we're meeting the 3rd Tuesday of the month, would meet the 1st Tuesday of the month, just to make sure that we're separated with it as well.
Is there a number of people that can attend these, or is it open to everybody?
Just like any committee meeting.
You, a committee chairperson this evening after it's all said and done?
After the vote on, does that have to be voted on a chair, or could it be appointed?
Well, I'll appoint somebody, but after we say that we're actually gonna do that.
This month or next month?
Well, let's do it this month.
Yeah.
Anybody else have anything in discipline curriculum? Okay, very good. Moving along to finance.
Finance, number 1, consideration to approve the treasurer's report dated 1/31/23. Number 2, consideration to approve accounts paid totaling $1,828,633.25. Number 3, consideration to approve the recycling of 86 pieces of old and/or broken equipment through Upcycle LLC at no cost to the district. Number 4, consideration to approve the renewal of Barracuda Backup Server Cloud Storage, extended service agreement, and energize updates from CDW-G totaling $6,780 through CoStar's number 006-E22-246. Number 5, consideration to approve an agreement with Cambria County Drug and Alcohol Program to provide environmental essentials at no cost to the district. This is in lieu of the previously approved purchase of environmental sensors from Gov Connection Incorporated, Ricotta, which totaled $20,986 plus shipping. Number 6, consideration to approve the purchase of a social media archiving subscription from Archive Social Incorporated, totaling $1,396, effective 3/1/23 through 6/30/23. Number 7, consideration to approve the purchase of a software subscription and services for food service state reporting from Primera Edge, totaling $3,585, $1,995 for training and implementation, and $1,590 for the annual subscription. Number 8, consideration to approve a single audit report for the year ending 6/30/22 as prepared by Cox and CPA and Associates, PC. And that is it.
Anybody have any questions in finance committee?
I don't understand what number 6 is.
Yeah, what are we archiving, social media?
So,
If the school district has a social media account of any kind, we are required to archive it a very specific way due to the right to know requests. Like if somebody calls and says, hey, what's on there? Like if a parent posts something and we have to remove it, we have to retain every single post that was ever made from us by a parent or anything, whether it's deleted or not. So these companies apparently do this so we are compliant.
So you're saving our social media account stuff.
Yeah, essentially this company would, that if we had a right to know request and somebody said, I want to know what's posted on this date, this time, like we have to be able to provide that in a very specific way that is legally binding, which I think Amy knows a little bit more about than I do.
Yeah, and what this company will do is it'll provide some, I guess, external legitimacy is maybe the best way of describing it, so that they'll capture the information in real time on a particular date. Whereas what might be on the district's end could change, maybe by the district or maybe by other people that are, that post and then pull back and, change things. And so, Eric had actually, I think he went to a presentation, there were a number of places that had, schools that had, been talking about this subscription service being required, and then he contacted me, I think in the fall, it's been a few months.
Yeah, I actually, it's something I didn't even know existed until we found out about it, and then I guess it's not just for schools, it's for like municipalities or any type of like government organization. Essentially, anytime somebody posts something, whether they edit it or not, like they're required to keep track of it. And if somebody says, hey, what did you post on this day? You're not allowed to tell them, just go there and go back and look at it. Like you have to provide it in a very specific way, apparently. And there were, like the stuff that was not given to me, there were actually like lawsuits where like people sued like districts and stuff and actually won money from it. So this just kind of covers the districts, from my understanding.
So even if somebody went in there from the district and went in there and changed something after the fact, it would still be in there, the original post.
Yeah, like if somebody posted something and then a teacher decided to take it back, or a principal or something, we still have to archive what they posted and keep back. So yeah, it keeps everybody accountable.
So we got third party, disinterested third party that just keeps the information. You
Yeah.
can't change what they keep.
And that's not being sent anywhere else, so just to that.
Yeah, no, just to them, yeah.
That question, but Eric, how many accounts do we have for social media?
As far as I'm aware as of now, I think there's 3.
You know, what?
I know there's a sports one, I believe Mr. Monet has one, and I believe, there's like a school district one, it's the elementaries.
Well, we share.
Yeah, they
We
share
share.
it, so yeah, there's a school district one overall, I'm sorry, I'm not a big social media guy, but yeah, there's 3 from my understanding too, so.
That's just Facebook though, so we're talking all social media,
I believe this is just Facebook.
just Facebook.
Yeah, 'cause I mean, I don't know, if we have any other social
We have
media.
an Instagram.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
So we do or we don't?
We do.
What other ones?
We have an Instagram account that's just connected to our Facebook account, so anything that's posted on our district Facebook account simultaneously gets posted to the Instagram account.
So that'll have to be archived as well.
I will check with them. I actually have a meeting, if this gets approved, I have a meeting with them tomorrow.
Any should, so is there anybody know of any other social media accounts that we have? Is there all,
The Booster Club, the Wrestling Association, Glendale Wrestling.
does that fall under us because it's the booster?
Is the Instagram just under Glendale School District or? Yeah.
I think it's run by the Wrestling Booster.
Yeah,
They have like a school account. There's multiple ones, like Glendale Junior High Football has one.
That might be a question that we can ask them, so.
There's multiple athletic accounts out there that are run by boosters. Yeah.
I don't believe those are district-run, accounts, and I think, Eric, didn't this quote you got, cause you got a couple quotes, didn't you, if I'm recalling correctly?
Yeah, and from my understanding, from what I've looked at, it's only if it's a actual district account ran by a district employee. Like, I don't think boosters really fall under that, from my understanding.
Well, with the Twitter though, it's gonna, or Instagram or whatever, Snapchat or whatever it is, it's gonna have to be, that's gonna have to be covered. So, does it change if we have to add a Instagram account?
I will have to check. I'm sorry, I was unaware of that.
I believe they did quote this based on the number of accounts.
Well, okay, I should rephrase this. So they have plans, and depending on how much you post per month, depends on how much they cost. Like, I know their first plan didn't seem like it was we were even gonna come close to maxing that out. And I believe you're allowed up to 6 accounts. I will double check on that tomorrow, but I believe we would be covered for an extra account. But like I said, I have a meeting with them tomorrow to talk more about it. I just wanted to make sure it got approved, and I would follow up a little bit more.
Can you do like a once around to make sure there aren't any other social media accounts that are linked to something that's, we don't, you know?
Yeah, no, I
Just so we capture everything.
I actually made quite a few phone calls. I thought those were the only 3 that were there, so I apologize
And the quote in the board packet is for, it's $349 per month, up to 12 accounts, and up to 1,600 records per month.
Yeah, so, yeah, we should be definitely covered. I thought it was 6, but 12's better.
Well, that's gonna save Instagram's link to the Facebook and posting this same post does this have to be. I don't know.
I think it,
I think it does, because people can post back. And
Just
might
to,
post
just
back
to
too.
Instagram,
To
could
the
they post
Instagram.
back? So, yeah, then it would have to be separate. Okay. Anything else in finance? You got your, you good with what we told you then?
oh, yeah, yeah, yep.
Anybody else have anything at all in finance committee?
Number 3, what was the Upcycle LLC? I was just curious on the 86 pieces of broken equipment.
That's tech stuff that's all from like 2009, 2010, like, I mean, it's beaten to the ground, just pretty much taking up space at this point.
Is that the one where it was like the projector or the touch screens or smart boards or something?
Yeah, there's a broken smart board, there's an old CRT, and there's some like really old laptops, like I'm talking from like, there's actually a couple we found from like 2007, whenever we were cleaning out the room with, Mr. Eflin and stuff, so, yeah.
And you have a listing, I think, of like serial numbers or the piece numbers.
Yeah,
of the
they
district's
provide you
inventory
with like a certificate of destruction and stuff like that, yep.
that shows what you discarded
Yes.
after the board approves it.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay, we will move into administrative reports, district reports. You're up first, Mr. Gilday.
I don't have a lot to talk about this evening, but I will mention that we have 4 wrestlers this past weekend that advanced to regionals. Zeke Dubler was District 6 champion, now standing District 6 wrestler. Williams was here this evening as a freshman heavyweight District 6 runner-up. Great match in the finals. George Campbell took 6th, and Britt Spangle was here, took 5th. So congratulations to those guys. They're moving forward to the regionals next weekend. The girls basketball team unfortunately lost last night in the first round of the playoffs. Close until the 3rd quarter, and I think they wore down a little bit, but a great match, great season for them. I did do some more research about a softball banner we talked about last month. I know Gary and I talked about it, talked about Mr. Matchok, talked to Mr. Sabato. Tried to go back and find any policies. We could not find a policy. It might be something that the policy committee and I can discuss moving forward. But from what talking with Mr. Sabato a number of years ago, they talked about the individual posters going up into the gymnasium. Some people wanted runner-ups, and then it was talked about, 1,000 rushers, all states, whatever, but it was limited to state champions. And that might have been the policy that was discussed before. The softball team is asking once again that we put a pigtail onto their banner that says Final Four. And that's something I think we can talk about in the policy committee as well as with the athletic committee moving forward. Mr. Matchok doesn't have isn't against it. He thinks it's a great thing to honor, but understands if we can't do that, that's fine as well. In looking at our gym, there's not much hung up anyways. I think the more right now the better, but we have to have a guideline to stop of how much we can hang up in the gym. So I'm going to request the policy committee talk about that moving forward. So we'll have a proposal to the board in the upcoming months. The energy update. We've had 2 companies come around over the last 2 months, done some walkthroughs. McClure has come through, done a lighting survey, has met with Mr. Westover. Mr. Westover has given a number of pieces of information over to them. They've had a general contractor come through, look at different areas in the building and what we can improve on. These two companies will develop proposals for us, and then from that point, it's either we accept the proposals moving forward, or we can just say, no, we're good with everything we're doing right now, we'll talk to you in a couple of years. So at least to give us an update, updated idea of what we can do for energy saving costs, and then how we can possibly transfer that money into some building upgrades as well. And I'll continue to update the board on that as well. We had a parent I mentioned last month that wanted to do a presentation on addiction to our high school students. She is coming in on the 28th of February to do a group presentation with the admin first. That was suggested by the board. So we're gonna do that, and I'll have an update to the board in March. Our department chairs have worked on and are sending me some academic summaries, so we can start putting them on our website. And then this summer and the next year, I'd like to talk about revamping our curriculum as a whole, and getting it posted on the website as well. And that's all that I have. Everything else we can, I mentioned before already, we could read some things we need to talk about in executive. That's all for me.
Thank you, sir. Next up, Mrs. Baxter, elementary report.
So this is Scholastic Book Fair Week in elementary, and students have been enjoying going down and picking out books. Each and every student in the building was given $5 from the PTO to make sure they at least walk away with one book, which was really appreciated. We are also holding a diaper drive for the United Way, so donations of diapers and wipes and money, which will go to the Cambria United Way to help our families and any other families in the county, so that's this week. And then we had a 6th grade student, Brenna Wood, who was on a team that won a national title for cheerleading this past weekend, so congratulations to her.
Very good. Thank you.
When do you need the donations for the drive?
By Friday.
By Friday,
Mhm.
okay, and you said that's diapers, wipes?
Wipes or money.
Okay.
Thank you.
Secondary report, Mr. Stacy.
I don't have a whole lot to report, but it just struck me that this week we've actually started working on the end of the year plans. We're putting together our May calendar, getting our testing windows taken care of, starting to plan for prom, starting to plan for graduation, concerts, and musicals, and it seems like it's coming awfully quickly. But those plans are underway, and that's where we're at. All right.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Kozak, secondary.
I do not have anything.
Nothing. Maintenance report, Mr. Stebeck.
Yeah, on the construction here, we're still just waiting on the casework yet for a few punch list items for them to finish. Pretty much the building, boiler down there, we have a pump number 1, a VFD, that went bad on it. So it's a control from the Medicis program, which we got a price on that here. Waiting to see if Greg, our boiler guy, can find a cheaper part for us for that right now. I mean, the pump is working, just have to manually turn it off and on for it to go. Good thing we haven't had a real bad winter, but it's been doing well. On inside the building here, had a few projects here besides the STEM room. Home ec, we've been in there, redid the plumbing and faucets. We had a lot of plumbing issues there, a lot of leaks over the past, it's probably been a lot of years. It rotted the bottoms out of the cupboards. We need to replace pretty much all the bottoms in there yet. To get that done, it's a pretty sizable project here yet. Got our new oven, rewired that in there. There was a little bit of a hazard in there too, a safety hazard with open outlets and things like that there, so we got that tidied up. The cafeteria end, we fixed the warming line up there, rewired, took all the cribbing out from the old stuff that was left in there for years where it was cribbed up, dangerous for kids, and we got all that down, bolted together where it's nice and safe there too, so that was all taken care of by all the guys. Really good work. And a few other projects, just faucets, just haven't been hitting some of the elementary rooms. None of them have worked in years, so we've been slowly replacing those with Mr. Gilday, letting me purchase those off and on, one here and there. That's about it on the maintenance.
Okay, thank you, sir. Special ed report, Mr. Epley.
Not a whole lot going on, through the comprehensive supports grant that I spoke on last month. The TAN representatives have started coming in and working with the different teams. Mainly right now, they spend a half a day in both the elementary and high school life skills classrooms as far as looking at equipment, furniture, strategies that they can, kind of from their expertise on what they're going to suggest. Any kind of suggestions like that would be paid for through that grant. They also have suggested that Mr. Smith attend a training in March. It's a two to 3 day training for instructional practices in the life skills classroom centered around applied behavior analysis. So that too will be sponsored by that community. And about it.
Good. Thank you, sir. Business manager report, Mr. Westover.
Other than working on the budget, I'm not doing anything too exciting, but, with the auditors coming in, I'm always glad when they come in and go through the books and leave, and we have a good audit, a clean audit, because all the invoices and transactions and everything that goes through the business office in a year, there's a lot of opportunities to miss something or make mistakes. I'm always glad when they come in and go through everything and leave, and we have a clean audit, so glad to hear that again.
Good. Thank you, sir. Technology report, Mr. Frank.
I will try to be very brief. Couple things I want to talk about. First one is our internet contract is up this year. We submitted an RFP last year, and we got all of our bids in, basically Windstream and Comcast. I know it's been asked about before. Essentially, Windstream is offering 10 times the speed that they were for $1,200 less, and Comcast is only offering a 1 gig pipe for more than what Windstream's costing. So Windstream is actually far ahead of them in that game, because Comcast said they don't have the infrastructure in the area. So we're going to recommend to stay with Windstream because of the speed difference and the cost. Part of that also is we are looking to probably get to upgrade our ASA at some point in the summer as well. And part of that is also because of the government's really pushing cybersecurity right now.
For those of us who don't know, what's an ASA?
It's a firewall. It's essentially like when things are coming in and out of the district, it says you can enter, you can't enter, stuff like that. It's in layman's terms. But part of that is the government's pushing cybersecurity pretty hard. I've signed up for, I think it was 6 or 7 organizations so far. I've signed up for webinars. I had to complete surveys. It took quite a few hours. They're offering money. They're not saying how much or when, but they're asking for an intent to basically apply for these grants and get this money. So I'm doing my part on my end. Two of the big things they're really pushing that we're looking to do by next year is get multi-factor authentication set up for all the users in the district through email. And we have to start basically phishing our own staff with test emails to see who fails. And if you fail, then you have to attend a training, and the more often you do that, the better, because I mean, they are getting really good at it.
Yeah.
So
that's the way we're hooked up. When I log in from home, it's multi-factor identification. They send phishing emails to us all the time.
Yeah, and I mean, we have, like, the important stuff here is multi-factor, but we're gonna get everybody on the same page. A lot of districts are gonna be doing this, but it's just something we're also gonna be pushing for. And replacing the ASA or firewall that we have will also help with that, because I mean, the one we have, it's a very good piece of equipment, but it's pretty old, so it's probably about time. But, and also part of that, and I have something written up just from looking at other districts' board policies. There's something that we're gonna have to put with board policies as well. I'm gonna write it up, send it to Mr. Gilday and Amy and stuff, and then she can review it with you guys with the board policy. I mean, I honestly don't care what it says as long as it gets the point across. I'm just giving you guys a base from what State College and some other districts.
Sounds like something for our new policy committee.
Yeah, so, yeah, see, I'm giving you guys something to do, it's fun.
There you go. First order of business. Is that it, Mr. Frank?
Yes.
Food services, Mrs. Deneen?
I don't have much to report. We did a lucky tray for Valentine's Day at the elementary. Students always love that, to get a special treat. We're getting ready for green eggs and ham for Dr. Seuss's birthday, and birthday cake for the elementary as a treat for his birthday. And National School Breakfast is coming up in March as well.
Very good. I believe that is the end of the admin reports. Anything else from the order before I close the work session? All right, work session is closed.